Guten Morgen, wie geht's? Today is Tuesday, and we've been a little bit slack in some departments. We've been very busy in others. The slack department has been the recording bit. We just haven't had time to shift cameras around. We've been in a bit of a flap to try and get the battens on, the roof paper, SISALATION. We had to finish the walls of the pop-up, which I'll show you in a minute. So we have some battens and roof SISALATION. We've got battens over there on the truss work. This is the wall I was talking about, so there is a little raked window in here that we'll cut out later. But we have sealed both sides of the pop-up roof. That wall in the distance, above that large window opening, is stud wall. Same as this one in the foreground here. This guy here's a stud wall that goes all the way up through to the side of the pop-up roof. But we've clad the outside with ply and joined that to the roof panel and sealed all of that in there as well. So essentially it's well, as airtight as I can get it anyway. We've had some hay cut. We've got a heap of round bales kicking about the place at the moment. We've also got these windows in. Don't know if you remember, but these windows were sort of just leaning up against the side of this wall. Obviously we had to get them out of the way so that we could clad that wall, but also so we could finish the roof battens and the SISALATION. So rather than take them down or sort of just move them from one spot to another, we just put them in. They look great. I haven't opened them yet. I'm not really sure about the clearance to the roof. That's something that's on my mind constantly. They will come out again. They're not watertight. We don't have flashings in there. They haven't been brought out to the point that they need to meet the outside cladding and all of that sort of stuff. So they're only in there just to get them out of the way. It's just a temporary fix. We've got all of these battens and SISALATION just about finished. I've got to take a few of these guys off. If you remember in the previous video, there's a huge beam that runs through from the box beam that runs along here. That beam was supposed to be about 10 mil above the roof line. It's probably worked out to be about 13 or 14, so I need to take some of these and just plane a little bit off the underside of them where they go over the top of that beam. That will allow them to sit down a little bit to the same height that the rest of them are. So they're all up on these packers. They're a 10 mil packer that keeps the batten off the paper, to allow for any watershed to just go straight underneath the battens and work its way out to the gutter edge. It's quite fiddly to do. Each screw that we put in has to go through a packer. We have to do one of those every about 900 or so. I've been doing them about 800 or 850 just because, you know, I can. But Eric is going to help us this morning. We're going to get some long screws and I'll show you what we've been doing. These guys here, these are only a 75 mil bugle head and they just go into the OSB and you can't put too much pressure on them. As you can see, this one's sitting up quite proud. You can't put too much pressure on it because the OSB is only 12 mil. It just chips out. So what we've been doing is using these enormous 250 mil screws. They go through the packer, through the entire roof panel, and I'll show you underneath. We've been putting blocks on the underside of the roof panels so that when the screw pokes out through the roof at the bottom, you just hold a block up to it and the screw's spinning and it just feeds the block up, snugs it up against the roof and gives the screw something to bite on and actually hold the battens down. So we've cut a stack of these little blocks. Oh, hello there, Charlie dog. Oh, bye-bye, Charlie dog. Cut a heap of these blocks here just to use for that. Hello, festive dog. Hello. You're still very festive, aren't you? Charlie is waiting for her breakfast. because it's nearly breakfast time. Speaking of, I'm going to go and grab some breakfast as well and try and get a few things done before the sun gets out and makes it hot. Yeah, going to be 33 or 34 today, so hoping to get a little bit of stuff done before it gets too hot and uncomfortable, because what did we work till last night? I think I sat down at 7:45, and I started at 7. I had to go and get some stuff from the hardware shop, so it's going to be an easy day today, but it's going to be hot. We're not going to do a whole lot, so I do apologise for being slack. I've been trying to get as much footage as I can, but the last few days was just mental, and I couldn't have moved the camera around. We're rolling out paper and throwing battens around the place, so I better go and get a dog's breakfast now before she, fires up and gets cranky at me. So all these blocks around the ceiling, there's just long screws that are coming through from up top. Got a heap more in here. So you've heard of Dusseldorf, and you might have heard of Hahndorf, and you probably know Stevendorf. Well, this is Screwdorf. Do you like that? Sorry. So we finished screwing off, for the most part, all of the battens. We've also screwed off the top of the pop-up roof. The roof panels actually have a 225mm screw that goes all the way through the panel, hopefully through the end closer, and that goes into the top plate of the wall that supports the panels. I'll show you up the top. So these big guys all the way down here, they're at 300-ish centres. They run through the end closer, which is in the side of the panel here. They go through that and then into the top plate of the stud wall that runs up here and supports it all. And we've also screwed through, this is a piece of 150/45 on each side, screwed and glued together, and they are just in between the LVLs that run lengthways. So that LVL is unbroken, a single piece. These guys in between, they just fill in the ends of each panel where the joint is. They get screwed and glued together, and they're also screwed through the LVL into these timbers. So these are held down with alternating screws all the way through into the top plate of the supporting wall that runs this way. So we had a bit of a warm one today. We got a bit over 30 degrees. It wasn't great for glare coming back off the paper, but we managed to get a bit more done than we were thinking we were going to. We did manage to get the paper sorted on the top of the pop-up roof, marked up with where the battens are going to sit. We've also marked the LVLs where they fall between the panel connections. We've got some wall wrap on down the sides. This was where we ran the ply. So a few things to tidy up. Hopefully we're still having a framing inspection tomorrow. I haven't heard back from the building surveyor, so that is yet to be seen, but hopefully if they can make it down, it's another box ticked, and we'll be one step closer to having a waterproof shell on the outside. And gee, it's going to be nice to have a carport. Days like today, the cars are sitting out in the sun. It'd be really nice to park a couple of cars under here, get them out of the sun and the weather. So a few little things to finish off, but very happy that we got to this point, especially that we've got all of the roof panels covered now. So I know I've been a little bit slack with the recording. It's been sort of crazy to get to this point. It's just been one of those situations where we just got to knuckle down and get it all done, because we just don't have the time to, unfortunately, bring you guys in for a lot of detail. Charlie Dog's been lounging around, sitting on cold concrete most of the day today. It's been a bit hot for a black dog, but with a bit of shade now, the sun's gone behind some clouds. I'm going to get back out here and see if I can finish off some of these blocks and maybe screw off some more battens, and you can stick around for that if you like. So these are the blocks that we've got. We've just cut the roof pitch on the top and the bottom. That hopefully will sit vertically underneath these battens and give us a reasonable connection to get the brackets and everything onto. The main reason is the roof panels that you're sitting on at the moment are 175mm thick with a 10mm packer underneath the battens. So 185mm to underneath the batten, and that should get us a consistent edge all the way through when it transitions from panels to trusses. And that's the whole point of this. Going to try some with just glue and a couple of nails and see what they do. Otherwise we might have to put some bugle screws in there. Sort of want to go that way. I think that's going to work okay. I'm a bit hesitant to screw bugle screws in the ends of these trusses. It's so close to the edge here, I'm afraid it's going to split it, but we might have to. We'll see what happens. See what a bugle head does. If we go in that way at the back, it should be alright. Yeah, that's better. Right, so a couple of nails and a bugle head. That's how it is. That's how it's going to be. Yes. So that is pretty much all of our buttons. We've got to go through and put some more spaces underneath the centres. So we've got all of these screwed off at 1200 centres. I'll see if I can find enough packers to go around and do another run of just a single packer in the middle. I've got this end done. So we've caught the side closer with this batten screw, bugle head, and we've caught the LVL running down here. These red lines are the LVLs, and I've got another one in the middle there. So all of the 75s, unfortunately, because they're just going into OSB, they don't pull down very hard before they strip. So rather than risking them stripping out the OSB and not having any hold, I'm sort of stopping a little bit short, and these are just going to sit up a little bit, be a little bit proud, unfortunately. I suppose I could countersink them. It's probably not a silly idea. Maybe I'll do that and see what that looks like. That looks a bit better. Maybe I'll go through, countersink all of these guys, because they are sitting up a bit proud. If we get a valley of the tin that sits down on top of this and it's constantly moving backwards and forwards, we might eventually wear a hole in the tin, so that's probably worth doing. They look a lot better like that. It's just under the surface, so nicely countersunk. That'll keep it away from the tin. These guys here, where the joins are, we've just got one in each side down into the OSB and a packer under both of them. But of course, what's that? 300 mil, 12 bananas away, there's a 125mm bugle head straight into the LVL underneath it. Very happy with the connections on these guys. Along here, along all of these roofs, the third row up, edge 1, 2, 3, this guy here, all the way along, that's also on an LVL. So all of those screws are like 125s into LVLs. We're on a wall over here, so that's a solid connection. And unless there's a join like this guy here, I can see has got a join in it, just off the wall edge here. So there's a big long one through that. And then we've skipped one, and then there's another big long one through, but there's also another wall that runs through. So in the center of that icon in the paper there's a little center mark. So there's a wall that runs through here. So where there's a wall, or this guy here, there's a screw in every single batten. And if it's not close enough, then we've put a block and a 250mm batten screw, or on the joins. So down here there's 1, 2 screws right next to each other on either side of a join with a block underneath. I'm really happy with all these connections. I've just got to pretty much go around and fill in any gaps that are wider than standard 900 and put a packer underneath them. Once we got this wrap on and these battens finished, we're sort of just hanging out for tin. Hopefully that's in the next couple of weeks. Can't wait. Really looking forward to having some good undercover area. So I appreciate you hanging out with us again. I hope you've been enjoying the videos. Welcome your comments or thoughts in the section down in the doobly-doo down there. So say good day to us. Cheers, we'll see you in a little while.